Welcome back. Here's the Kovacs report, and we have a brand new #1 from DSTLRY. It's called Endeavour by Stephanie Phillips, Marc Laming, Loughridge, and Tom Napolitano. Now, this book has been on my radar, pun intended, for quite some time, since the Ashcan came out a while back. And I've been really, really looking forward to it. And here we have it. Now, DSTLRY are pumping out some really, really good books at the moment. I think one of the best publishers out there. I should really do a video of my top 5, actually. I'll do that soon. But we're here to talk about Endeavour. Now, Stephanie Phillips, for me, I prefer her indie stuff. I think she really shines when she's not working with superheroes. And this is a perfect example of that. Now, before we get into it, like the video if you can, hit subscribe and read the book beforehand if you don't want it spoiled, because I'm going to go for it page by page and give you my thoughts starting now. But we are going to backtrack just one little second. Now, the Endeavour, the ship this is all about in this book, has a huge, huge history. And I'm sure you all remember from school about the Endeavour and Captain Cook. But if you don't, let's quickly go over it. And please bear with me, because I think it's important and it really grounds what this book is all about and where it's going. So the HMS Endeavour originally launched in 1764 as the collier Earl of Pembroke in Whitby, England. And it was a sturdy coal-carrying vessel which was repurposed by the Royal Navy in 1768 and renamed His Majesty's bark Endeavour for scientific exploration. Now, under the command of Lieutenant James Cook, it departed Plymouth that August with 94 crew members and provisions for 18 months, embarking on a groundbreaking 3-year voyage to observe the 1769 transit of Venus from Tahiti. The ship then charted the unclaimed eastern coast of Australia, reaching Botany Bay in 1770, and circumnavigated New Zealand's main islands, producing the first accurate maps of these regions and laying foundations for British claims in the Pacific. Now, upon returning to England in 1771, Endeavour served as a Falkland Island supply vessel before being sold in 1775 for £645 British pounds. Now, eventually scuttled in Rhode Island and Newport Harbour during the American Revolution, 1778. Its wreck was identified in 2025, and today replicas of the one at the Australia's National Maritime Museum preserve its legacy as a symbol of maritime discovery. Now, it's not all great. Now, the HMS Endeavour and its captain, James Cook, are embroiled in several controversies stemming from the ship's historic 1768 to 1771 voyage interaction with indigenous peoples, and have drawn sharp criticism for enabling British imperialism. For example, upon landing in New Zealand in 1769, Cook's crew fired on Maori during a misunderstood first contact, killing at least 4 and wounding others, an act Cook himself justified in his journal as necessary self-defence, despite acknowledging its inhumanity. And there's more. Cook claimed sovereignty over New Zealand and Australia's east coast without obtaining the requested or required consent of the natives, disregarding signals of non-interest from Aboriginal groups and paving the way for colonial dispossession and cultural erasure. Now, the expedition also inadvertently spread devastating disease like syphilis to Pacific islands, ravaging communities and exacerbating violence, including the R word, and further killings across Cook's voyages, which modern protests such as statue vandalism in Australia and New Zealand highlight as symbols of ongoing indigenous trauma from European encroachment. Now, I know that's a lot to take in. You just wanted to come here and find out about this comic, but you know what? It all plays into what's going on here, because the Endeavour, like I say, has a fantastic and terrible, terrible history. So what is this all about? Well, it's exactly that. It's about this boat. And we see that this boat, many moons ago, did what it did. Okay, it says Captain James Cook wanted to sail further than any man had ever gone before, which made Endeavour a fitting name for a ship that became synonymous with discovery and exploration and brought theft, illness, murder and rape to the shores of already inhabited islands. The legacy of the Endeavour is complicated, to say the least. People are drawn to her out of an innate and human need for knowledge and adventure. But for me, the Endeavour is hell. So chapter 1 is departure. And basically, we're in Sydney, Australia. Okay, and we have this replica of the ship, but the internals are super modern. Okay, and they've got this whole bunch of rich people and this scientist here, or doctor, rather, and there's 2 kids to come along for its maiden voyage. But before they even get out of the harbour, they've got problems. Yes, the ship, well, there's a big storm coming, so they have to sail round the storm, which will add a week onto the journey. So they spin docked this to say that it's an extra that they're throwing in for free, and they get to see, the comet fly by, much like the voyage of the Endeavour all those years ago. Now, the captain is brilliant. I love him. He's a sort of old seafaring guy. He likes a bit of a drink, and he never ever wants to let down the crew or the passengers. I really, really like him. Now, I'm glossing over a lot of the dialogue here and things that happen, but this is really, really good. So we meet the cast, let's call them. We meet Carson Shaw, and his parents were from North Carolina. Carson's dad was some kind of important politician. At least that's what he wanted you to think. I never looked him up, not even years after. Now we meet all the rest of the guys. We meet Nikhil Kumari, was only a year younger. So we're introducing the children first, then their parents. His parents booked the trip with his aunt and uncle and bought him a ticket when the babysitting options fell through. Nikhil was almost lucky. Now the Veermans owned a pharmaceutical company that put a large label on their products, proudly stating, "God heals, we just help." Now Nora Veerman was the youngest on board, maybe 6 or 7, and her brother Isaac was about 10. Emily Levi Johnson and her mums were paid to be on the Endeavour for some kind of marketing campaign. Emily's social media followers rivaled a small nation, and people were willing to pay for product placement. And then there was us. Now these are the lead characters, Victoria and Royce Wright, and their father, Dr. Ethan Wright, and their mother did have passage on the ship, but she actually passed away before they could get going, because she got seriously ill. And we find out the son is really not dealing with this very well. I mean, of course he wouldn't, and he's kind of sort of blaming his father, maybe, and he kind of doesn't want to speak to his father and is acting out, where his sister, who we discovered later is actually autistic, which is interesting because I'm autistic, if you hadn't guessed already, and she's there. She doesn't hate her dad. She understands what's going on. She's quite sort of more mature for her age. So there's the cast of characters. So the captain, he says, "You know what? We're gonna go round the storm, and you're gonna get to see all this cool stuff. It's adventure. It's complimentary. It's a great detour. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity." And they cheer, and off they go. Now the next chapter's called Harbinger. Now this is where it starts going crazy. So we get Captain Cook blamed the drinking water, said it was tainted and spreading illness. He ordered the water supply spiked with lemon, hoping that would stop the plague that hit the Endeavour on their return trip to England. Medical advice that may have sounded ill-informed to the ship's surgeon if he hadn't died of disease himself. So they bury these guys at sea, and it's really cool because they explain that back then they would stitch them into their own hammocks, with the last stitch going through their nose, and they would weigh them down with a cannonball, and they would, by their ankles obviously, not by the nose, they would sink to the bottom of the sea. And then they say that the stitch was also said to seal the dead sailor's soul inside of the hammock and prevent it from following the ship like a curse. And also, the sort of story they told there was by putting it through the nose, if they were still alive, then that pain would obviously, allow them to alert them to the fact that they're still alive. So really, really interesting. Now they're only 3 days in, okay, and we see one of the boys here from the other family is a bit of a shit, right? And he's trying to, I don't know, he's trying to get our young hero here to do bad things, like throw someone else's book in the water, and he does. He peer pressures him, and that's what he does. And then our little cast of characters here, the heroes that we're following, the young autistic sister turns up, and she's like a bit upset about it, but she's cool with it. But he's horrible to her, as you can see, and calls her a bitch. Now we jump back a few years ago, and we discover that their parents, it looks like their marriage was having a few problems, and they were dealing with the autism diagnosis, and they were also dealing with the fact that, his father and his mother were discussing why his sister, when bullied at school because of the autism, didn't stick up for her. Now, his father's like, he should have stuck up for her. But her mother's sort of saying, look, he's a young boy. That's what happens to kids in school. But his father's not pleased. You can see his father's, he doesn't respect the decision that he didn't have empathy and do something about it. But we go to that night. Okay, and we see the young lad get up. He realizes that he should have looked after his sister, Vaya, that's her name, and he goes in and finds her in the wardrobe. Of course, it's a safe space, and he apologizes, and you can see that there's definite love between the two of them. And I really like that because, again, it rehumanized the kid. He's not all bad, just doing what kids do. And he's had a traumatic loss. So day 4, they're out on board and they're learning how to make knots. Of course, that's something you do on a ship, right? And of course, the big bully kid, there he is. He said something pretty shitty to Vi, his sister. So big brother decides to sock him one. Boom! Puts him on the floor, right? And they have a bit of a scuffle. And they are brought in front of their ship's captain. Now you can tell that the bully's father is just as much a piece of shit. And you can see where his son gets it from, right? He's not pleasant. And the doctor's saying, look, my kid shouldn't have popped the other kid, but he was protecting, his sister. The captain sends the horrible family out and says to the guys, look, I heard about what happened. I know the truth. I wish you could have hit him more, but we can't have this on the island. The other family want them off the boat, but that's not happening. He said, don't worry about it. It will blow over. And it surely does, because not long later, his father and Royce, that's his name. I should have got the names right at the beginning. They have a little chat, and his father's saying, look, I love you. What's the problem? Why are you pushing me away? And they're trying to figure it all out. But that is interrupted because there is a boat floating in the water. So they send out a little ship there to bring the passenger, a woman, back. She does not look good. She looks like she's been ravaged by some kind of disease at this point, maybe the sun, maybe the dehydration. And shortly later, we see some of the staff running out of the room where she is, vomiting. So this isn't good. We also find out that she is not in the state she should be in, considering how long she's probably been out of the water without provisions, without water and everything else. It says, well, she's out there less than 7 days. She should be severely dehydrated. She should be basically organ failure potentially. And she wakes. She coughs into their faces. And then we see very, very quickly that across all of the adults on the ship, they all start vomiting, bringing up blood and dying, leaving only the kids surviving, as you can see. Now, 5 months ago, we jumped back to the mother's death, and we get more of what happened there. And it's really, really sad, okay? But like I say, jumping back to present time, day 6, Vi here, she's looking over her father's body. He's passed away. They both realize they've only got each other left, and they all assemble on the deck, just the children. And what is going to happen? Well, I don't know. This is very much like Lord of the Flies, but on a boat, maybe. Do they crash? Do the ghosts of the Endeavour come back? It is all very, very, very intriguing. And it's not what I expected. I thought it was going to go a different direction. You see the kids here, the blood that's been vomited up by their parents, I guess, and their parents' dead bodies on their shirts. They don't look happy. They're stuck on a ship. They have no adults there to help them. They have no knowledge of sailing, I guess. Maybe the rich kid knows how to sail his dad's boat, but I don't know. This is a big ship, and it is way, way out, and there is a storm coming. Now, do they know to steer away from it? Is the ghost ship going to come through? Who knows? I'm going to find out, because I really like this book. The art is gorgeous. The art is really, really great. All the characters are really, really fully rounded by the end of the first issue. Like, you're really caring about all of them. And then they take all the adults away. And then you see the kids left. You can see which kind of kids are going to go for leadership, which kind of kids are going to, cause problems, and which kind of kids are going to be helpful. It's really, really good. Like, really good. So much better than I expected. Again, because not to be disparaging towards Stephanie Phillips, I just don't like her superhero stuff. If you do, that's cool. I don't. But this is something else. This is really good. It's basically another Distillery hit. They're putting them out one after another, and I couldn't be more thankful. So thank you, Distillery. Thanks to the whole creative team for this book. Very much looking forward to the next one. So those are my thoughts. Let me know if you read the book. Let me know what you thought of that. Let me know if you got through the little mini history lesson at the beginning. Sorry about that, but I really wanted to ground this in what this could potentially turn into, because it's so damn good. There we go. Like the video, hit subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one.